We are CCS, we are the best. Achieving educational excellence for every student. From classrooms to the stars above, we do it all with pride and love. We are CCS, we are CCS. Together we strive, we are the best.
This is your home for inspiration and information. We're 1600 AM and 99.7 FM, and this is Let's Talk Education. Let's Talk Education is a new monthly feature radio program highlighting all things Cumberland County Schools. I'm your co-host, Dr. Shanessa Fenner.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Brickey.
And today we have a very special individual here with us, and his name is Dr. Lindsay Whitley. Dr. Whitley is the Associate Superintendent of Cumberland County Schools Communications and Community Engagement, and today we will discuss Cumberland Family Academy 101 and everything family engagement. Hi, Dr. Whitley.
Hey there, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How was your spring break?
It was great. It was great. Nice to have some relaxation and time off with family.
Good. Did you get some rest, and did you take several naps?
A few, sometimes there's schoolwork, but then there's housework as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There was a little bit of housework, but it was fun.
So did you travel, or you got a chance to stay home?
I stayed home. Sometimes a staycation can be just as good as a vacation.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And Brick, how was your holiday?
Oh man, it was wonderful. I started doing some basketball training, so I had training over the weekend. So I had spent my Saturday with a bunch of kids. It was fantastic.
Okay, great.
And then the rest of the weekend, I took off and laid on the couch and watched NBA playoffs.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I had a great vacation. I love to take naps. Mm-hmm. I did some writing because, I'm a writer. Mm-hmm. I did several articles. I went to the doctor. I had a doctor's appointment. I had a hair appointment. So there were a few things. I spent some time with family, went to church, ate Mama's good old Easter dinner, gained 5 pounds. But it was great. I want to redo it again next month.
I know, that would be nice.
Now, today, Dr. Whitley, we're going to discuss family engagement. I want to first start off by you talking a little bit about the importance of family engagement. I know as a principal, I'm always reaching out to my parents to be involved with their babies, with their students' education, to come to all of our parent nights, to come and, of course, conference with the teachers, to come and get to know me a little better, spend some time at school. So why is it so important to have that family engagement?
When I think about family engagement in the educational process, it is a means to student achievement and success. I always say when families and educators join forces, amazing things happen for our young people. Mm-hmm. And so I've always understood the importance of family engagement, even personally. When I think about being a first-generation college student, and as I've gone through various phases of life, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it really hadn't been for my parents. Of course, I had great teachers and great educators, but there was something about my mom and dad who were there every step of the way. And
right.
So here in Cumberland County Schools, the goal is that, one, our families feel invited, that they feel like they're welcome to come to our schools, and that they understand that it's truly a partnership, and it truly takes a village. And I catch myself, I don't just say parents, I say families, because sometimes it's grandma, sometimes it's auntie, sometimes it's a cousin, but that loved one that is partnering with the school on behalf of their children, we want to make sure that we have a strong relationship with them so that our students can succeed.
And it's fantastic. So it sounds like you're saying your support system includes a lot of different components.
Yes.
And I love that saying. That's very appropriate. It truly takes a village to educate and raise a child.
Yes, sir. And
there's a lot of moving pieces in that puzzle. So your department does a fantastic job. And anyway.
Thank you.
So how does this? I remember my own life. My mother was an educator.
Yeah.
And she knew all the educators in town. So it was personal for her, so I knew I couldn't go but so far, but she was there with PTA meetings, et cetera, et cetera. But so what are the stats saying about how to support impact kids' educations?
Well, we know that when a parent or family member is engaged in the educational process, those students tend to do better in school. When you look at the absentee rates, those go down. When you look at those households that have engaged parents, when you look at the discipline concerns, typically you see fewer of those challenges when a family member is involved. Even when you look at student achievement, and that's just one measure, but students do better in school. So really, when we talk about family engagement, we're really talking about student success, and really that's why we're all here. That's why we I hope that's why we decided to go into education.
Right.
You know, I speak for our 6,000 plus employees, you know. It's not necessarily just for the paycheck. Yes, we have to make a living, but we came into this thing saying we want to make a difference. And so one thing that I really want to convey today is that families are a very important part of that educational process.
Yes,
It
they
begins
are.
at home.
Now, Dr. Whitley, of course, Cumberland County Schools has great initiatives, and we give our parents the tools and resource that's needed. Talk with me a little bit about some of the key programs at CCS. Let's first start off by talking about the Cumberland Family Academy.
Yes, so when we think about Cumberland Family Academy, several years ago when we launched our strategic plan with the school district, we listened to our families and our community members and our educators, and one group after another, they basically said, we need more information and resources to support our families. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. You know, I often think about something as simple as math. Anybody out there listening, have you had to help your child with math recently?
Oh, God.
Some people refer to it as the new math. So in other words, picture this. Picture this. You're at the kitchen table. You're trying to do your homework. And so, you know, maybe you graduated from school 20 years ago. And here's your child 2025 in school. So they have a specific way that they've been taught to complete that math problem. And so, you know, you graduated 20, 30, 40 years ago, and you're trying to go and help them. And next thing you know, no, mama, no, grandma. That's not how you do the math problem.
Right.
And so we realize that while saying we want families engaged, there are often barriers. And there's like a knowledge gap at times. There's information some families don't have. And so as a school system, we said that we not only want to say we want you to be engaged, but we want to provide a vehicle, if you will, to help them be engaged. And so through that strategic planning process, we developed a community-driven model. It's called Cumberland Family Academy. And we have a mantra. We often say, nothing about me without me. And what I mean by that is we don't want to just do things to parents. We don't want to just say we're organizing some parent nights or we're doing things online. We survey families. We do focus groups. We hear what families need. And then as a committee of parents and families and educators, we build out those initiatives. And so speaking of Cumberland Family Academy, that was actually launched during the global pandemic.
Okay.
So it started off as these Zoom sessions. We were all in those little blocks. You know, you remember those days when we were on there. And now it has grown to where we've been able to offer sessions in person. We've been able to, of course, continue offering virtual sessions. That's another thing, listening to parents. You know, it's kind of like they want it their way, you know, so they want to do it online. They want to learn virtually. They want to learn in person. And so we have crafted an educational resource where if you want to learn about how to help your child with math, if you want to learn about how to support your child with literacy, maybe it's something like internet safety or money management, we now have those tools that are available for our families.
Wow, that is fantastic. I was excited to hear about this other program, the Family Ambassador Program. That's a unique one. Can you give us some details on that one?
Yeah, so once again, we realize that having educators in place, that's so very important to support our young people. But we also learn from parents that sometimes having other parents who can kind of help and support them, that is kind of like a peer-to-peer model where other families help engage their colleagues. And so we actually have, every school is eligible to have what we call a volunteer family ambassador, and each month those family ambassadors, they come out to a meeting with the communications and community engagement team, and we share information and resources that will help them with their kids, but they in turn take that information and they share it with other families. And the amazing thing about our family ambassadors, they have thought of places and ways to share information that we never would have thought of. You know, think about it. Nowadays, everything, if you're not careful, is virtual. It's online. We're going live. And sometimes, if you're not careful, you can lose that human connection. And so I think when we think about, as a district, we have a website, check. You know, we have Facebook, check. We have Instagram, check. And we were sharing a lot of resources with families in that way, and we will continue to do so. But when we think about these family ambassadors, they're truly these other grassroots kind of like parent coordinators who actually go out there and talk to other parents. Have you heard about parent-teacher conferences? We even had one session where some families was like, well, I don't really know what to say when I go to a parent-teacher conference. And so we were able kind of to give them a cheat sheet. You know, here are some questions you can ask. Here are some things you might do to advocate for your child. But instead of that just coming from a school official, those family ambassadors were able to make that happen. So.
Okay. Now let's talk about this new family engagement initiative, the Family Engagement Bus.
Yes, I'm very excited about
First
that.
of all, I love this idea. This is thinking outside the box. So
Yes,
whoever
sir.
put this together, kudos.
Well, once again, we're just listening to our families. So coming soon, hopefully this fall, over the summer, we will be launching a family engagement bus. It was funded by ESSER funds. And so basically, we heard from families, you know, sometimes I work 2 jobs. Sometimes I have to go to work at 5 a.m. or go to work at 7 p.m. And when we think about the model, the traditional model, we often look for parents and families to come to us. You know, think about it. You know, you may say, we're going to have an event at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. And we're all in that little committee and we're making that decision and we're excited and we're going to get our pizza. But guess what?
What?
I may not be able to come. I work. I have to put food on the table. And so by listening to our families, we said, well, what if we stop by your neighborhood? What if we had a bus that was outfitted with internet access, that had the capabilities to have laptops, and when it came time for kindergarten registration, or it came time to register for financial aid if your child is going to college and maybe they don't understand how to go through the process and y'all need help doing that, what if you didn't have to leave your neighborhood, but we decided to come to you? So that's really what the Family Engagement Bus is all about, is to provide access to families to help their kids to get resources, but outside of the 4 walls of the school.
I love that, Brick. Isn't that awesome?
That is 21st century thinking right there. Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
Dr. Whitley, let's talk about some workshops and events. You offer online and in-person activities for parents and those that are helping raise children. Talk about some of the things that you offer.
Yeah, so we do a survey for families, just trying to figure out what they want to learn about. So, you know, we talked about that new math. We talked about literacy. We found out since the pandemic, families have had questions even about social and emotional well-being. And how do I navigate through some of the tougher seasons of life with my child? They've even said, you know what, I want to improve my own skills. So like, how do I, you know, look for a new job? And so we have different strands, and we offer in-person, we offer virtual, and we even have some pre-recorded ones that we call them Throwback Thursdays, because the content was so great that, you know, we didn't want to just show it one time. We let parents go and replay it on demand. And what one family member told me, they said, you know, if I can't get to the school at 6 p.m. on a Thursday, you know, for me, I may be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And if I want to watch a session on how to help my child, by placing those videos out there, I can watch it on my own time, on my own terms. And so that's really what it's all about. So another very popular one is access to college. Oh, yeah. Because, you know, you think about it, the financial aid process, how to search for scholarships, how to write an essay. If you've done it before, it may be a little easier, but if you've never done it before, it helps when you have a guide and you have that information. So that's what it's all about, is trying to, is once again, not us doing things to parents, is doing things with parents based on their requests, based on their needs, and based on hopefully the success of their children.
Now, Lindsay, what is the communications department's role in helping with family engagement?
Our role is really providing those resources, but I like to think of us as the champions, because most of what I've talked about so far are things that we're doing at the district level. But as you know, as a principal, Dr. Fenner, we have our 86 schools, and they're working just as hard to engage families. They're having their parent nights, their reading nights, their literacy nights, their book fairs. And so part of what we're trying to do is build a culture where we can, I call it high yield family engagement. So when you think about that, you think about what are the types of activities we can do to support families that actually translate to student improvement or school improvement. And so oftentimes, and Dr. Fenner can attest to this, at the beginning of the year, I have the opportunity to address principals and to collaborate with them. And we set goals where, hey, we want to at least have 4 events at each school per year. But we don't just want to have any kind of an event. We want them to be engaging. We want them to be connected to our school improvement plan. And so, for example, if we're working really hard on literacy or math, how can we help pull families in? So once again, our role is not only supporting families, but really being a champion to engage families and engage with principals to help them, you know, engage families at their schools.
Exactly.
Dr. Fenner, there's some practical tips for families. Would you go over those and just lay those out so if parents need ideas?
Oh, yes, I'd love to, Brick. The first one, of course, is daily engagement, all right? Create simple routines that include time for homework and conversation, and even a quick check-in can make a significant difference in a child's academic progress. So, for example, when little Lindsay comes home this afternoon, ask them, "Hi, Lindsay, how was your day today?"
It was great.
Okay. What did you learn today, baby?
Well, I really liked my math lesson. We learned about fractions today.
So did your teacher give you a math homework, fractions for homework?
I do. I'm still working on it, but I'm going to try to practice.
Okay. So what we'll do, baby, I want you to go in and change your clothes, get out of your uniform. I'm going to give you a little snack, and we're going to sit down in this designated area, and we're going to go over those fractions, okay?
That sounds like a plan.
All right, yeah. So, you know, just something as simple as easy. Asking him how's his day, you know. Be present. Show up for school events, parent-teacher conferences, and stay engaged with school communications. Parents are the most important advocates for their children. So, yes, please be present. We put all of our events on the website, all of our social media sites. So please make sure that you're constantly and consistently checking them. I also send out newsletters and parent links as well. Also, access available resources. Take full advantage of the Family Ambassador Program, CFA workshops, and FEOD content. These resources are there to help you support your child's education. So, of course, make sure that you are fully engulfed with all the resources. Check Cumberland County Schools website at www.ccs.k12.nc.us. And, of course, take advantage of those resources.
In our closing message, we want to give you a couple of points for call to action. Dr. Lindsay, you've done a fantastic job. I know, listen, your department is engaged, touches a lot of things in this community, and I'm sure that's hard to stay on top of, but it sounds like you're trying to create a village to support these children. And that's,
Yes.
I mean, just, we thought education in the 70s was going to school. Now you're taking the school to the community.
Yes, sir.
And gathering data and building relationships in between. I think that's fabulous. So let's talk about staying connected. Family engagement isn't about perfection. This is for families. It's about participation. I told the story before you got here. My mother was an educator. She knew all my teachers, and she was the president of the PTA. So I knew I couldn't go but so far in the classroom because they would call my mother directly. So she stayed connected. Join us and take advantage of the tools and resources that we provide. Stay connected. Dr. Lindsay, we love what you're doing. Any closing thoughts from you?
I just want to say thank you, first of all, for this opportunity. Y'all are doing a wonderful job with this show, so thank you for inviting me to be here. I just want to say to families, I often share this whenever I get the opportunity to speak. Family engagement can be many different things. Mm-hmm. And in this season, that's a challenging season for many. We have sometimes our capacity is different. And what I mean by that, what one parent or family can do, another one can't do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I often, when I'm talking to my educator colleagues, I said for one family, it may be that being engaged is making sure little Johnny gets up, gets on the bus, and gets to school on time every day. That's right. And guess what? Some weeks, that may be all you have to give. Mm-hmm. But guess what? That's huge. Mm-hmm. Because by getting that kid to school, you're helping them be prepared for their lessons. And so I just want to say to our families, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being present. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for giving whatever you can in this season. And just know that we are better together, and there's room at the table for you here in the CCS family, because at the end of the day, we want all of those boys and girls to walk across the stage and be ready for whatever they want to do, their dream in life. And your role as a family member is very important. So thank you again for this opportunity.
And thank you, Lindsay, for everything that you and your department does, Cumberland County Schools Communications Department.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, listening audience, for tuning in to Let's Talk Education. I'm your co-host, Dr. Shanessa Fenner.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Brickey.
And please tune in into another interesting episode on May 3rd, when we will discuss local businesses and volunteers who are making a difference within the school community. Have a good one.
We do it all with pride and love. We are CCS. We are CCS. Together we strive, we are the best. We are CCS. From successful students, premier pros, an exceptional environment where learning grows. Committed community, hand in hand. In Cumberland, we understand every challenge we face head on. With excellence, we carry on. Innovation in every class, integrity that's built to last. We are CC.